Okay, we're back in the studio. Blake, good to see you.
We're back. Yeah, it's good to be here.
Drec, if I'm saying that correctly. It's nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, we've been doing this podcast with Blake where we kind of talk about all the things he has going on. He's a super busy guy. My understanding is that you joined his team at ARC last year. Is that correct?
Well, it really started maybe January.
Yeah, beginning of this year.
Yeah, beginning of this year.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah, so the transition was, I've talked to Blake a couple of times about it, and he told me his goals, and I was currently not on a team. I was at actually a whole different office, but
doing real estate.
But still doing real estate.
Okay.
Yeah.
And when we had met probably 2 to 3 times a year for the past like 3 or 4 years of just like, hey, what are you up to? How's your business? What are you doing? We'll get into it, but he's involved in a lot of different things. And so really just kind of like brainstorm, like just catch up. How can we help each other? And it never crossed my mind, and we haven't really talked about this, but it never crossed my mind of like, hey, we should partner up or we should do something together. It was just like, hey, we're just here trying to help each other, and just it's fun to catch up. And we sat down in, was it 1st of January or late December, kind of doing the exact same thing. And one of my goals that we've talked about on this podcast was, hey, I want to grow my team this year. And I was like, well, what are your goals? And he was like, maybe join a team. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, it actually was like really good timing. I actually didn't know you had a team for
really?
the longest. Yeah, until maybe about a year or so ago, I guess. That's when I was like, oh, it's sweet. That's awesome to have a team.
Yeah. Well, I'm foreign to the real estate world other than what I've learned through Blake. And so forgive me for asking if I do ask some stupid questions.
No, I was going to ask because I was wondering if you were.
No, not at all. So quick background. I started a podcast with my brother. I think I found him on social media, and I just thought he was be an interesting guy to talk to because we were just kind of interviewing people around town. And I was like, man, it'd be cool to talk to a real estate agent, and just kind of hear about what they do, because I don't really know. I think I have an idea of what they do, but I don't really know. And I'm learning something every time I sit down and talk with him. And so he came on, and then fast forward, and now we decided we had enough stuff to create his own podcast. So thanks for listening, everybody out there.
Yeah.
Appreciate
well, and now it's kind of turned into like, because you and your brother, and you had some family, your grandfather had some property. So there was always like some interest there from them. And so now it's like, kind of a challenge of like, all right, let's ramp up their investing world, their like what they're doing, and we'll get into that in a little bit. But I feel like we're making progress on y'all's steps on getting into investing.
This space that we're in currently is my brother's studio. For anybody that's out there wondering where we record, and he's currently outgrown it. So without getting too into the details, basically we need a bigger space. He and his team need a bigger space, and would help give us a bigger place to record and stuff too. So that's where Blake comes in. So hopefully he can steer us in the right direction.
Well, and taking, I'm pushing. This is a new idea in us working together on helping y'all find a space. But I'm pushing. You need to buy something.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Because the idea is like, oh, we'll just go find a space to lease. I'm like, no, we got to buy it.
Yeah.
So it's exciting, a little nerve wracking. Zach's called me a couple times, be like, "Are you in on this? Are we going to do this?" And I'm like, "Yes, we're in. We're going to do it." So. But going back to you, how did you get into the world of real estate before joining Blake?
So this is about 5 years ago. I was at a fair housing event with my dad, and one of the owners of Rand Pointer was at that meeting, and just came up to me randomly. He said I was looking sharp. I had on my best suit at the time, and he asked me what I was doing. I was selling life and health insurance, and that wasn't really something that I wanted to do. So he asked me to come talk to him the following Monday, and I was like, I don't really have anything better to do. And real estate sounds like a lot of fun, so hop straight into real estate.
Was there anything that maybe going into it, any preconceptions or anything that you were surprised about when you stepped into the world of real estate? I know for me personally, just the stuff I've learned from Blake, I think I had an idea of what realtors do, and then it was eye-opening when I started talking with him. And I think he's unique in this space. I don't see a lot of realtors doing all the stuff that Blake is doing. It's really cool. So was there anything where you were just like, wow, okay, I didn't know that's how this worked? Yeah,
so, I mean, you've seen on movies or TV real estate agents and kind of how they navigate, and I guess that's the preconceived notion I had going into it. It was obviously nothing like the movies, of course. So looking at my first contract, I think the first week I signed on, we went through a whole contract and had to describe what was in the contract, and I was like, this is my first week. I don't know what this stuff means. So going through that, just learning.
Now that contract, were you helping someone purchase a home or sell a home?
We were, well, it was if we were helping somebody buy a home.
Okay.
So
It's like just practice.
just
practice.
practice,
Okay, I got
just
you.
like going straight through it. And
Well-
so it was like all the new agents around the table.
Yeah, and there's a perception that being a realtor is easy, and becoming a realtor is pretty easy. We've talked about the low barriers to entry to get your license, as anyone could do it. But being successful as an agent, I think, is a whole nother step, and the perception of just having success in the industry is that perception is incorrect. And so I don't know if you want to speak to that, because
I do want to speak to that. Actually.
Yeah.
Because that, all right, so, all right, you got to go through like the pre-licensing course, right? I'm thinking, I'm pretty good on tests. Like, I can just wing it. So I kind of just go through the practice stuff and then flunk the test 3 times. So I have to retake the whole pre-license again and end up passing on the 4th time, taking my state exam, passing on the first time. But it's not as easy as I thought it was. And so that preconceived notion of it being easy definitely hurt me first off. So,
Yep.
But I made it, you know.
Yeah, and it's kind of, we've talked a lot about what we talk about in here is some of the day-to-day of being an agent and what it takes, but also more of the how you approach it from a mental standpoint and attitude standpoint. And I think that's where Drec sees a lot of success. And while he's going to be so successful, or continues to be successful in this space, is because if you take the mentality that he's got and apply it to any industry, right, whether it's selling life insurance, cars like Christian did, or real estate, you're going to see success, because it's just having that determination and grit and repetition in your daily activities to see that reflect in the closings and paychecks and all that kind of stuff. So that's where I thought it was awesome for you to come on and really get after it, because you have that mentality of, and I think it comes, a lot of it, we've talked about this from kind of a sports background of like, 100%. It's a challenge, it's a, yeah.
Definitely new opponent every week. Focus on that opponent, and then once the game's over, move on to the next. It's kind of the same thing like with the cold calls. That wasn't anything that was really hard for me. Mm-hmm. It was just figuring out, not even the fact that I'm capable of doing it, because everybody's capable of doing it, but like, was I willing to do it? Mm-hmm. And maybe that first, I don't know, week or so, or of just forcing myself to do it, I just became kind of numb to it. Like, I don't know who this person is. I don't know what they're about to say. I'm not going to try to pre-think what they're going to say. I'm just going to call them and just see what happens. And the effort or the action of just literally just dialing the number, that just became numb to me. Mm-hmm. So it was just like, dial it, boom. Mm-hmm. All right, next call, boom, boom. And so like the 35 calls, I think is what I'm on now. It doesn't really seem that hard to me. It'll take me, depending on how many people I actually talk to, it'll take me all of 30 minutes? Yeah. So 30 minutes out of a whole day.
So to me, it sounds like you get out of it what you're willing to put in. And speaking to the cold calls and stuff, when you first started ARC, or maybe when you first started in real estate in general, what does the day-to-day look like? I'm curious, how are you gaining clients? Is it literally like you're just picking up the phone and who are you calling? And where do you get this list of people that you're trying to reach out to?
So Blake's connected me with Sync. Is the platform that holds all the leads. Yeah, okay. CINC.
CINC.
It's a lead generation platform.
Yeah, and Blake's got a website that if you were to search just in Google Birmingham Homes, our website's one of those first websites, and you can get on there for a bit, and then it asks you to put in all your information, of course, and what you're looking for, email, phone number, and so that's the list that I get to call from every day.
So people are finding you guys online, entering their info, like, hey, I want to work with ARC, I want to work with the Blake Shultz team, and then that list is being generated, I guess, daily. And then
new people hit the site every day. You see a big influx over the weekend, which is great. So those Monday morning calls are always fun.
It's warming up, so I imagine that the housing market is going to pick up. Is that? I guess that's an urban myth. Maybe you've put to rest before, but when when springtime and warmer weather, is that usually when
historically that's when it picks up? Okay. The past 2 years have been kind of an anomaly in itself, where
we've talked about that
year round. It's been springtime, right? Since October, we talked about this a little bit. When rates went up last October, it slowed down. Now we're starting to see it pick back up, and I think part of that is a new normal in the rates on where they are, but also because we're getting into spring. So. Yeah.
Cool. So, what's your day to day look like these days?
Day to day. So I started inputting my call time in the morning, which is
Wake up, hit the leads first thing.
hit the leads first thing. Eat the frog.
Eat the frog.
As Blake has told me before. That's my first part of the day. Usually after that, I'm in a coffee shop. I'm analyzing some multifamily or calling some other people, emailing some people. Lunch, and then afternoon, if I double up, I'll do another call time around 1 or 2 or 2 or 3, and then I'll have not Speed City. I'll have Simmons Middle School track practice, middle school coach over there. And once the summer gets started, I'll start doing Speed City, but that'll be around 6 to 8.
So he's a track coach.
Okay.
For our local middle school.
Awesome.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, you're trying to be like Blake and just cram every single, all the things. I don't see how he does. I don't see how he finds time for this. So,
I don't either. I mean, he's like working on this, what is that, Land Rover?
Land Cruiser.
Yeah, the Land Cruiser.
I was like, he showed me the pictures. I was like, what in the world?
He's
is
a
he about to
family
do with
man,
this
and he's
car?
running his, the Blake Shultz empire,
Yeah,
and
man.
investing, and then the stuff he's helping us with, and his
He's-
podcast.
But that's the thing, man. It's 24 hours in a day, but it's plenty of time to allocate for the things you want to do. You just have to be really good at time management. I think Blake's pretty much perfected that.
I think he
process.
has. I'm
Well-
going to step out and say, yeah.
Well, thank y'all for saying that. But it's really about just surrounding yourself with people that can help you. I mean, the team that we've got at ARC and on our team is just that I couldn't do it without that.
Yeah.
Right. And
Yeah.
I mean, Stacy and Cindy and who we've got working with us, it's just, there's no way I could do everything I do without surrounding myself with people who are better at the things that I'm not good at.
Yeah.
So that leads to a good question. You
Yeah.
said that, I guess who were you with before joining ARC?
Ray and Pointer.
Ray and Pointer.
Shout out to Ray and Pointer.
I've seen those signs. I'm
Yeah.
not super familiar with them, but I guess they're a real estate.
Yep.
Agency, company.
R&P, the green signs. You see them around quite a bit.
But what was the benefit that you saw, I guess, no disrespect to them, but
No.
moving on to ARC, and what did you gain by joining a team like Blake's?
So what initially kind of opened up my eyes to being open to change companies was the dynamic of the office, right? So I've talked to Tommy Brigham a couple of times, and maybe every time I have a conversation with him, he always is telling me, start with the end in mind, right? And so,
Tommy owns ARC.
Yeah.
Okay.
Owner, thank you for the
Yeah.
the plug. Definitely need to say that. But yeah, so with Ray and Pointer, did I just break the chair?
Oh, no, it's just a little thing that slides off. Yeah, sorry. We'll edit that out. No big deal.
Blooper reel.
Yeah, blue for real, for sure. So I think it goes back to what the agents at ARC were doing versus what the agents at Ray and Pointer were doing. And so the only ARC agent I knew at the time was Blake. And I'd seen the different things that he was doing with the flips and the multifamily, even the commercial space. And I wanted to be more a part of that side of real estate versus just your traditional buy and sell. Now, don't get me wrong, I still want to do the buy and sell as well. But I definitely want to have that investment portfolio, be managing commercial real estate, get more in depth into the real estate, just the real estate whole.
Yeah.
So I think that's what really changed my mindset. And of course, like Blake said, you got to be around people that are doing better and more things that you're doing to learn how to do them. And so I think that's what really got me interested in Blake's team, because I had already seen all these things. And so he already had the credibility in my book to be able to go say, hey, I need to learn from this guy.
Yeah. Well, iron sharpens iron. So,
Yeah.
how big is the Blake Shultz team? I know I probably asked you this every episode.
Well, yeah, it's always changing. We're looking to grow, but we've got 5, including some assistants.
Okay.
And yeah, looking to bring 2 more agents on by the end of the year.
Well, I think you kind of mentioned earlier, and we've talked extensively about, how you got started in the world, and you kind of reach a plateau doing it solo versus, like you said, we were speaking earlier about all the things that Blake's doing, and he mentioned, well, I wouldn't be able to do it without my team.
Yeah.
And so it sounds to me like having that team is kind of the next step, I guess, for anybody out there who may feel like they're running in a million different directions. Maybe joining a team is a good idea.
Maybe joining the Blake Shultz team is the plan for you.
Yeah, and kind of allocate some certain things to other people and kind of spread that load out where you're not just having to kind of do everything. And I think you talked about that when you kind of first got started. It's like, helping people buy, helping people sell. You're trying to market yourself, and you're just going crazy. You know?
Yeah, it's just hard to do everything.
Responding to
you
emails,
can only
phone
do,
calls, all
yeah,
that
you can
stuff.
only do so many things. So you mentioned, Tommy said to you, starting with the end in mind, and I think I don't want to speak for you, but one of your goals is to have that financial freedom from some passive income from investment properties. We share that goal.
Yeah.
And so to be able to get there, I think you realized, and it's something I realized as well, is being an agent, being in that space day to day, working with buyers and sellers opens up doors to investment properties and investment opportunities that not being an agent you would never get to.
Right.
And so we're seeing that, I think, as you continue to grow on the team, because we're 3 months in, and just the opportunities that we're being surrounded with just from being a realtor have grown.
Yeah.
I feel like, do you feel like that as well?
I do. I feel like being an agent definitely helps because you have access to the MLS. And I mean, nowadays everybody has Zillow and Realtor, so they can see it, but it's kind of different when you're in the space because you're always reminded of the real estate, right? Like you might just get on one of those websites and just browse, but are you going to like hit the multifamily tab? Are you going to find properties that are off market? Not really. So I definitely think that opens up the door. And even since I've joined, there's been a lot of stuff that's just come about. And I remember you telling me to start putting in offers on these multifamilies. I was like, what are you talking about? Like, what am I? And so this past week, though, I finally was like, all right, I got to make something happen. I gotta shoot these offers. I gotta go through the process. And while I'm not getting very many calls and emails back on my offers because Blake's shown me how to work through them, work backwards from the list price, but it's the repetition.
Yeah, it is putting in there. It's a big funnel, right? And it's just working down to try to get something accepted. So, we 2 weeks ago we got referred a seller who owns a portfolio of rental properties. She lives in Florida now. She's looking to sell some of her portfolio. Some of it's in Hueytown. We just listed 2 of her properties in Hueytown, but part of the conversation was, hey, these 2, I just need to get them sold quick for a good price. But the future, because I asked her, I said, man, I tell every listing appointment that we have, we can be a buyer for you if your goal is time and ease. We're not going to be the highest price. We're not going to put the most money in your pocket. But if that's not your priority, we can be a buyer for you. And we'll always give you an offer. It's not going to be the highest you'll ever get. And so I had that conversation with her and talking about maybe even like some creative financing, some seller financing where she holds the note. It doesn't require a lot of cash down on our side. And that's an opportunity that we're exploring. Nothing's come of it yet, but we would have never gotten that opportunity if we weren't agents because we would have never been referred that seller because we were referred that seller as an agent. And it could lead to buying a rental porportfolio of 10 or 15 properties.
So if you want to get into real estate investing, become an agent. That's basically what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And you mentioned earlier, websites that people surf, like me, not being on the outside looking in. I can get on Zillow, I can get on Trulia. But do you guys have access to like some secret database that only you can get to because of your fancy real estate license that us normal Joes can't get to or something?
No.
Maybe not, but I was always curious, like, I've told this story. When my wife and I bought our first house, we had really done our research. We were scouring the internet, and when we found a real estate agent, I wish I'd been working with Blake back then, but when we found our real estate agent, she showed us a lot of the same properties that we had already found and realized that, this isn't going to work for this reason, this isn't going to work for this reason. And we were kind of surprised. We were like, I thought you were going to show us a bunch of new stuff. Like, you're showing us stuff that we were able to find on our own. Like, what's the deal here?
Man, I'm glad you said that because I had this conversation with someone the other day about the value of a realtor, and it shifted. And that's the common idea is like, realtors don't provide any value. I can go find any property that you can. And that's very true.
By owner, all that stuff.
Yeah, very much so. And so I think the value of being an agent and the value of a realtor has shifted from used to finding the properties for you. Now, as a client, you have access to pretty much everything we have. So our value shifts from making sure that we negotiate it correctly, getting you to the closing table, making sure that you're getting a good deal, making sure that all of the stuff in between from contract to close actually is handled for you. And that's where a lot of that value comes from instead of finding the property for you.
Yeah.
Right.
And I know that when we sat down at the table to sign, on the dotted line to buy our house, it was a lot of paperwork,
Yeah, it is.
And I would be scared going into that just on my own, either as a seller or a buyer without someone in my corner.
Yeah. Make sure you're signing all right.
Yeah, just make sure I'm not about to do something really dumb. And,
Yeah. Well, and as a buyer, we're free for you. So it doesn't make sense not to use an agent, whether it's us or whoever else you're comfortable with, because the seller pays us. And the seller has already signed a contract with their agent saying they're going to pay X amount percentage, 4, 5, 6% commission, period. So as the buyer, there's a common misconception of, well, I'll just go directly to the listing agent and save 3%. Well, that seller is going to pay 6% total regardless. So it may all go total 6% to the listing agent, or it can go 3% to them, 3% to someone representing you. And what happens is if the 6% all goes to the listing agent, who are they obligated to? The seller. And so now they're getting twice the money to represent the seller to the best of their ability, making sure that they take advantage of you as the buyer who's technically represented by them but unrepresented.
Right.
And it's like worst case scenario for a buyer.
Yeah.
And so that's like what we try to convey is like, look, like we're going to be okay. Like if you don't use this, we want you to use us, but like this is for your own benefit. We are free for you.
Yeah.
And it's hard to get that message across sometimes, but
it is. It's part of the business.
It is.
It's part of the business.
Yeah. But a lot of people don't realize that. They just say, "Oh, I'll just call the agent on the sign."
Yeah.
And
So if you want to not get screwed over, I would think, just get a real estate agent. Yeah. Well, that's awesome, man. Anything else?
So what else is he involved in, and what changed from the first? This would be a good intro. Like, what changed the first 4.5 years into doing a bunch of different things into end of last year, like kind of setting you up to say, I got married.
Yeah. So.
Wait, you asked that though, because I didn't say it right.
Yeah. Well. Yeah. So what has changed over the course? I mean, it sounds like the Blake Shultz team's killing it. What's changed over the years for you personally, and going? I think you've only been with the team since January, but just in general, what's been going on with you?
So this past November, got married.
Okay, congratulations.
So thank you. I was talking to my wife, or I've known my wife for 5 years now. We've been dating for 2 years. So, knowing that, especially, because we want to have a family, we want to have kids, we want that financial security. So that's really kind of gotten me to really zone in hard on real estate right now. Build that investment portfolio, get that passive income, which isn't really passive, but get that passive income.
That mailbox money, man. What are you talking about? Come on.
It's
easy.
That's what it sounds like. But it's not really, because I'll be managing it. Anyways, so that's got me to really, really narrow my focus on real estate, as well as Good Vibe Goggles is the company that I started back in 2017, that's like my do what you love piece of my life. We have switched our model from clothing products to digital products.
Okay.
Hosting a gratitude workshop here in about probably 2 hours. Marquee Oasis, shout out Marquee Oasis. Just focusing on positive psychology. So everything in the mind, focusing on gratitude, resilience, mindfulness, those things that we kind of take for granted. Most of the time.
How did you get into that?
Yeah. So
that's cool.
This all originated from me getting in trouble in Arkansas, ended up getting arrested. Really dark time, probably the lowest I've ever been, and trying to dig myself out of that hole. And gratitude was one of the first things that I found after doing some research online, and just writing down 3 things that you're grateful for every day. The first thing you do, first thing you wake up. So I was doing that for months, and through doing that, I started to realize that my mood started to just get better. Like I was just more grateful throughout the day. I woke up looking forward to what I was about to do because I knew I was about to journal for a bit. And just realizing that there are probably more people than just me in this space. There are probably more people that just hit their rock bottom, and they need to have some hope that it's possible to dig yourself out of that hole, no matter how deep you've dug it. And so that led to GVG and wearing shirts and hats with different messages on them.
But it was more than just like an apparel company.
More than just an apparel company, of course. And so that's why this year specifically and a little bit of last year, the focus has been digital products because I feel like they hold more value than a shirt and hat can.
Sure.
More text, more information, and in this day and age, information is key. And you got to have all the information or some of the information to make the right decisions.
So if somebody was interested in kind of exploring that and getting more info, where could they find that?
The website is themindsethq.com. Just changed that. I guess that was last year. Just changed the website name. And Good Vibe Goggles is the Instagram, Twitter, and
Good Vibe Goggles.
Good Vibe Goggles, yeah.
Cool.
I think those are the biggest social media networks we have right now. But so that's the second thing. And then a thing that I also love to do is train. So track. Track family. My mom holds records at UAB. Shout out Coach Barb for the 400 meters.
Wow.
That record still stands to this day. My
At
dad
UAB? That's cool.
Yeah,
Go Blake.
yeah.
You're
That's
looking
our
at a
alumni,
very
yeah.
athletic family.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Very. Thank God. Very athletic family. Dad was also an NFL running back. So track star, NFL running back mixed together. 5 kids. No college.
No
tuition.
pressure. Yeah.
No college tuition being paid by mom and dad.
Yeah. We actually met on the basketball court at the Hoover Rec.
That's right.
Yeah. I don't know if you remember that, but it was
I
like
do remember that.
2013 or 14.
Yeah, that was back when we were going to the rec all the time.
Yeah, and I'd go up there, go to the gym, and then go pick up basketball, and that's really where, because like your family, I got a younger sister, and some of your family's the same age, and they knew each other. So I think we probably knew of each other, but didn't really like I couldn't call you out on the street, like I didn't know you,
right.
but you know, when I was in there just like dunking on them and stuff, that's where we met.
Yeah,
So,
okay.
Nah, I get out the way, bro.
no, this that's where we first met.
Yeah.
And I remember this guy was just like up there just schooling everybody. I'm like, who is this guy?
That's
He's
funny,
so good.
Man. The Uber rec
awesome.
days, man.
Yeah, that was like 10 years ago.
Yeah, it was a pastime. I haven't been up there in a minute.
Yep.
But to bring it all back home, you just being very confident in my capabilities and what I'm capable of doing, that tends to lead to you being like a jack of all trades, master of none. And so I was just doing everything, and stuff was just getting neglected. And so trying to narrow my focus down to 3 things with the appropriate time management has proven to be a tool or a key for my success.
So going back, stepping back into the world of real estate, and you're trying to, build your portfolio and stuff. Something I hope to do soon as well. Do you have any properties currently under your belt that are yours that you're managing?
I do not know. I am managing 10 single-family units.
Okay.
So the management piece of it isn't really too difficult.
Now, when you say managing 10 single-family units, what do you mean by that?
So like property management.
Okay.
So tenants call me directly if they have issues with their property.
Okay, but this isn't your property, I
No,
guess. You're
but
not
it's
on.
not
Okay,
my,
okay.
It's not my personal portfolio. I've been putting in offers on just about every multifamily property that's on MLS right now, trying to get some of those under contract. And I will continue to do that.
But still having the property management under your belt, knowing how to do it, that's huge.
Well, yeah, I think that.
I would be intimidated to go into a multifamily unit, for me, not having ever managed multifamily units.
That's the hard part. I mean, if you don't have your operations set up and systemized, then you can buy the best deal ever, but still fail
and run it
because
into
you
the
just
ground
don't
because
run
you
it.
don't know what you're doing.
Yeah.
So that's a huge advantage.
Yeah, having that experience is big.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
I think that's definitely going to help me moving forward, as well as systemizing a lot of it. I think it's plenty of room to optimize some of the operation, some, not all. So again, not truly passive people, but I think that's going to help me definitely moving forward.
Yeah, because you were like, my first property, I'm going to get a multifamily. I was like, okay,
Yeah.
well, it's a little bold, but sure.
Just go big.
I'm going to get like a small 2-bedroom. That's what my first property is going to look like, or maybe a new studio. Yeah.
There you go. The studio.
Commercial.
Well, that is cool. Man, it's been awesome kind of learning all
Appreciate
the
you
things
having
you
me.
have going
Y'all
on.
having me.
And yeah, I know you guys are going to knock it out of the park. And anybody out there listening, the Blake Shultz team is growing. So you could work with these guys and be
As a client or an agent,
Either
hop on
one.
with us.
Either one.
Well, yeah. Well, super great talking to you guys. Thanks for coming, man.
Yeah, man.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate it.